Tim Petrowich here for Dateline Marion, and again it's time for our weekly visit with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. And Coach, 34-13 win over Mahomet-Seymour, pretty good way to start the season.
Take it. Yeah. You know, you never know about week one. You know, you always worry about being sharp, and you worry about making mistakes week one, and you worry about penalties and things. And overall, we had a pretty good night. The coaching staff was pretty pleased by position. Had a lot of good things to build on. I think a lot of the mistakes we made were things that we felt like we could correct or fix, or at least improve on. But overall, I was fairly pleased as you can be when you still know there's a long way to go as a team. But a week one performance on the road, pretty happy.
A couple of your offensive senior leaders, Lucas Will and Drake Gravatt, had pretty good games and really kind of stepped forward and took over leadership roles.
And they did. I think we've really seen good leadership out of our senior class. You and I have talked about it's not a big class, but well, they've just done a really good job of setting a pretty high bar for the rest of the team to follow. And I think that transferred from the weight room to the summertime workouts. I thought it transferred well to Friday. I think when those guys set a good example for the younger players, and I think they also, when they say things at a crucial time in the game, there's credibility that goes with what they say because of the way they've led all year long in 2019. So from Davin, Melvin to Cameron Kaiser to Lucas and Drake, as you mentioned, and Frankie Horner and some others, there's a real sense that those guys are in charge of the team on the field, and like I said, there's a lot of credibility that goes with those guys.
You know, people look at the box score and they'll see the stats, they'll see the rushing yards, the passing yards, all the touchdowns. But some things that kind of stood out to me, and early in the game I noticed one of them. Traditionally, for whatever reason, Marion has struggled from time to time with kick coverage. Opening kickoff, you covered it and got them stopped inside the 20. Yeah. And I mean, those things like that, those are things that if you get more consistency in those things are going to be a huge help as the season goes on.
They make a big difference. You know, a year ago we started off the game with a kickoff return by Rochelle, and so within the first 15 seconds of the season we were down 7-0. Now we went on to win that game, but who wants to start like that? And this year we start with a kickoff return that was returned to the 17-yard line. So you're right, and little things like that. I think there was also decisions that were made by players in situations, whether a possible block in the back and then not doing it. Lucas Will making some really good decisions with the football. You know, we talk about if you're going to make a mistake with a throw, make a mistake in a certain place that's less risky. And I thought Lucas, when he made the missed passes, he missed them in good places. And he did a pretty good job of handling the football, so we'll knock on wood for that. And hope we continue to. Again, we want to build on that because I think a real tough stretch for us, and this is taking nothing from anything else in the schedule, but I see 3 playoff teams coming in a row now from last year: Jerseyville, Highland, Cahokia, and then a much improved Mount Vernon team. So we know the next stretch is going to be a real challenge for us as we get to that midpoint in the season. So we've got to keep getting better.
We talked about this Friday night. It took a little while for the offense to get going, but we mentioned the fact that the first 2 drives you had started deep in your own territory. You were kind of limited on what you could do because you had to run the tight offense and get yourselves in good field position, and you were able to eventually flip the field.
That's a big thing. You know, when we talk about field position a lot, and you know, there's a lot that goes in when you look at the analytics of football, what the chances of scoring percentage-wise are from certain places where you start on the field. And if you can flip that field position and at least get out of that hole and then punt them into deep field position and flip that field, as you said, it doesn't show any points on the board immediately, but it may show points on the board very quickly after that, because all of a sudden you give yourself a short field. It changes your play calling. You get into 4-down territory. Next thing you know, your chances of scoring are greatly increased. Their chances of scoring are greatly decreased. And let's face it, there's a lot to say. Not everything about analytics I fully believe in, but there's a lot to say about some of this statistical information that I think is a big deal.
Let's talk about some of the youngsters, and I think right off the bat, the game everyone saw and was impressed with was the game by Vincent Newsom. Yeah. Not only did he have a couple touchdown passes or catches and one nice catch that wasn't a touchdown, an interception, a couple of good defensive plays too.
Yeah, he had a real good ball game. You forget sometimes that he's just a sophomore because he began playing at a higher level last year towards the end of the season, caught a touchdown pass in the playoff win against Rich East. And we've always felt like he was going to be a big play, impact player, but boy, he really showed that on Friday. And you're right, on both sides of the ball, not just one side, and didn't just do it one time, but came through several times for us.
Tyler Seaman?
Big night.
Wow, he was pretty
Yeah,
good.
He was. We had a huge night in tackles for loss. My statistician Ron Ellis just told me I think he led the team in tackles, and I don't know that he played the whole game. So when he was on the field, he had a big night. And boy, the thing about Tyler, that when I watched him on film, especially, it stood out to me. It stood out Friday, but on film, I really noticed just how aggressive he was. But he was smartly aggressive. I mean, he was moving in the right spot with a tremendous amount of tenacity, and I love that. It means he's well prepared. He knew what he was doing, and just knew how to get there in a hurry and make things happen. And so that was a great sign. And last two names we just mentioned are both sophomore players, and so we've talked about these sophomores growing up quickly and filling roles for us, and we know for sure that those two and a few others stepped up and had good ball games.
Now, one that will be noticed a little bit on offense, he had a touchdown catch and ran the ball a couple times and did a nice job that way, and had some kick returns. But I thought on the defensive side of the ball, Jonathan Tucker was really good too.
I thought our secondary overall had a good ball game. I think that Jonathan, had a touchdown catch. He made some nice plays, had an interception. But he's another guy that has some big play potential, and he showed that on Friday. And then I think little Q had a good ball game. I thought he played awfully well, Quentin Anthony, and so he had a good game in the secondary along with Drake and Frankie Horner. And so and then the thing that I think stands out to me the most about the game that I'm most proud of is the fact that we had 9 new starters on defense, and the defense played really, really well. I mean, one of the 2 touchdowns Mahomet scored came off a short field on a rough punt. We're looking at possibly giving up only 1 score in the opening game of the year against a 5A team that has been a perennial playoff contender. They weren't last year, but I think 9 of the previous 10 years they had been in the playoffs. So it's a school that's got a lot of football tradition, and I was pretty proud of the effort. The fact that Coach Dunning, Coach Wimberly, and Coach Skeet did a great job of getting the kids ready to play.
Are those younger kids, are they maybe a little ahead of where you thought they might be for a season opener? Or?
I think for a season opener, you could say some of them were. Yeah, we have a long way to go as far as where we want to be. Obviously, I don't know that you ever get to where the head coach or the assistant coaches want the team to be perfectly, but I think some of the kids have, exceeded some expectations we have, and hopefully we can continue seeing that from more and more of the kids. We talked about if we can win some games early in the year and gain experience while we're winning, instead of just gaining that experience and you're losing games but learning, be a whole lot better situation. And so to get off 1-0 is a good feeling, and we need that, and we need that momentum for the next few weeks. And Jerseyville will present a real challenge for our defense.
You talk about Jerseyville, and we talked about them making the playoffs, and that was after they started the season 0-3.
Yeah.
And they came on and played well with a new coach last year.
Yeah.
They've got a year under their belt with Rick Johns as the head coach. They opened up the season with a win over Granite City last week.
Right.
And I'm going to say that Matthew Jackson is a name that people in Marion may get tired of hearing Friday night. Their starting quarterback had 170 yards rushing, ran for 2 touchdowns, threw for another touchdown. He's the one who makes that offense go, and that option offense is an offense that has given not only other teams but Marion fits in the past.
Sure, and it's a very assignment forced offensive system. You force the defense to assign people to the fullback, quarterback, pitchman. Then you still got to watch the receiving core and not get caught up into selling out on the run, because the moment you do the play action and throw it over the top. And Coach Johns is a Hall of Fame coach, and so he's got a great track record of winning no matter where he goes, and he's had a lot of success. He's got a really strong football team. They're aggressive. They seem very disciplined, and I think this offensive scheme fits exactly the kind of football team they are right now. And I think they'll be a real challenge for us. And I think, we're going to be disciplined on defense. Again, take another step in that growth process, and we got to get some stops, and we got to score some points on offense and put some pressure on them.
This will be an interesting question for you. Is it going to be maybe a little easier to get the kids to buy in to their assignments because they're younger and they're eager to learn and they're wanting to do the right thing?
I think sometimes it may be. I think a lot of times it's the personality of the kids, and I feel like from the very beginning of our off-season program last year in the winter through the summer, this has been a very focused group, and we've just felt that way from day one. We've not had really what I would call a type of practice or two practices in a row that were really bad. They've been able to even correct some practices that were going the wrong direction and pull them back in and make them better. When we watch film or when we were doing a walkthrough, they seem very focused. And I think that's a really good sign that they're locked in mentally, because they're going to need to be this week with this Jerseyville team. And then I think, Petro, it's going to come down to the physicality factor. They will try to take it out of you physically just by pounding the ball at you, pounding this big fullback at you. And you may stop it, you may stop it, you may stop it, but can you keep stopping it for a prolonged period of time? So we're going to get tested mentally, and we're going to get tested physically. So be a good test for our team, and we're going to grow up a lot on Friday again. Let's just hope we do it on a winning side instead of a losing side.
And one thing we've noticed in the first couple of weeks of the season, the canned food scrimmage, the season opener, there's a lot of energy on this team.
I think so. I mean, listen, they've shown that from the very beginning, and like you said, even the blue gold scrimmage, my goodness, they were hyped up, So we want to maintain that enthusiasm. Like, one of the things coaches often talk about, the week 2 letdown, because there's so much anticipation for week 1. Because you talk about week 1 starting in the weight room in January, and you talk about week 1,
right.
You talk about, you worry about the week 2 letdown because there's so much hype for week 1, but I think playing at home week 2 helps because our kids will love playing here. We have a great atmosphere, and I think that will help get the kids amped up a second week. And then once the season gets to the 3rd and 4th and 5th week, I think teams kind of settle in for the long haul for the season. But those first few weeks, you worry about too high, too low, and then things kind of settle in. So hopefully we'll be ready to go and get them amped up for a big night on Friday.
You kind of touched on that next question is, here you are, you're in Wildcat Stadium this week.
Yeah.
And it's something you have said time and time again, there's not really a better place in Southern Illinois to play football on Friday night.
If there is, I don't know where it's at. I mean, I know everybody is pretty partial to their home atmosphere, but I have a lot of people from other schools who come here and say, holy cow, it's really, really a special place. And it is, and it's due to all the factors, from our cheer squad to our dance team to our band to our fans, both the long-term reserve ticket holders to the student body, the Marion Maniacs. We'll give a shout out to them today, but just everybody. I mean, we have fence fans down here. We have top row fans. We have fans that just come out every single week who may not even have kids involved. They just love Marion football, and so we feel it, man. People should never underestimate what that atmosphere does for our kids, and we play well at home. We always have, and I think we'll feel them, and we'll play for them on Friday.
How much a train whistle play into that?
And I hope that train whistle blows a lot. That'd be a good sign. So, yeah, I'm excited because I love to see our kids get new challenges. So we faced this no-huddle, shotgun, spread, up-tempo system last week. Boy, you can't have two more contrasting styles. Now we're going to get slow it down, ground and pound, wishbone, almost T-formation offense. So we're going to get tested. It's exciting.
All right, it's the Marion Wildcats and Jerseyville Panthers Friday night, 7 o'clock, right here at Wildcat Stadium. That's Marion head coach Kerry Martin. For Dateline Marion, I'm Tim Petrowich.